Get ready for some of the most amazing fan-made brawler ideas that you will ever see. We got Stu's groupie, a conspiracy theorist, M's when she was alive, a talking telephone, and more awesome ideas. Alright, starting off with the most complete brawler idea I've ever seen by the community. Not only does it have 2-star powers, pins, 2 gadgets, the attack, you know what it looks like, but also even a winning animation. I mean, boom! Look at this! How many community ideas have their own winning animations? This is awesome. Now, who is this brawler? It's Sasha, a shy dancer who boosts his confidence with a sip of a trusty energy drink that enters the Brawl arena. Alright, kind of like me, Sasha has a lot of chest hair. But I do like that. I mean, you gotta have some variety in brawlers here. First, Sasha starts off pretty small, needs the energy drink. Arguably, could have been like a superhero type. That trio's complete, but you know, this was before that. Regardless, maybe if Meg didn't come to the game, Sasha could have been a part of that trio. Here we got some T-poses, always crucial to have T-poses for new brawlers, right? But I mean, even some pins were done for this brawler concept as well, which is pretty awesome. Okay, but let's really dive into what type of brawler, what is Sasha's attack, what does Sasha do? All right, first of all, obviously Sasha has 2 forms. When Sasha supers, that's when he gets into the stronger, more buff version, also has a faster move speed. Now the attack is kind of interesting. It seems like the properties of it change depending on how many times you've attacked. That first attack, just 1 projectile, does piercing damage, but it just goes in a line. The second attack is now 2 projectiles, so twice as strong, but it's like a short cone. And then the third one, it's a wider cone, so it can hit more people. And then it goes back to the first one, and it just cycles through that. I mean, I do think it would certainly be interesting to have attacks that sort of change depending on how many times you've used it. Now, the super is obviously a buff, right? Makes the movement speed faster, but it also increases the reload speed and how fast Sasha attacks. And on top of that, the attack gets a little bit wider as well. But there's a catch. Technically, it only lasts a 1.5 seconds. But every time you hit an enemy, that countdown resets. So you can keep on applying it and keep that bulk form longer, but you need to actually be hitting people. I do like that because it does definitely sound pretty strong, but a 1.5 seconds is definitely not very long, so you could lose this quickly if you aren't smart about when you use it. I didn't notice, but when in the super form, the attack is actually much shorter, even though it is wider, which I guess makes sense for a dancer to be more of a melee brawler. The first star power maybe sounds kind of broken because it makes the bulk timer not reset and the range doesn't get reduced by half. Although the catch is no enemies can be within 3 tiles whenever you activate it. But still, as long as you avoid that, it's kind of like a permanent buff until you die. The other one is a team boost, which is always exciting. It gives allies faster attack speed for 5 seconds within a certain range of Sasha. Now the 2 gadgets, the first one just charges Sasha's super, which of course is important, but the other one is tricky. It allows you to parry incoming attacks. So basically it's like Nani's return to sender, but the duration is like 1 second, so it's much shorter, and it returns all damage. Okay, now we got a bunch of amazing ideas by I ran out of names, so give them a follow. Now here we got a member of Stu's trio, whichever that's called. In this case, it's Tracy, who's one of Stu's biggest fangirl. She wanted to be a racing daredevil just like Stu. Anyways, Tracy's super allows her to ride her motorbike, but it requires fuel for her to stay on it. And moving and attacking consumes fuel, and if she runs out, she leaves her motorbike. That's an interesting concept. Now her attack rolls a wheel forward that runs over enemies, but if she's on her motorbike, the attack becomes a dash. All right, now she has pretty medium level health, and we can see ideas for star power and gadget, but let's take a closer look. Now in a way, I guess Tracy's attack is kind of like Carl's, but then when she supers and she gets on her bike, it's almost like a mortis attack. I mean, the idea definitely sounds like high skill and fun. Now her 2-star powers, the first one allows her to stay in her super form longer. She can use more attacks. She can move further before she runs out of fuel, which is cool. And the other one gives her some extra ammo when her super ends. That way she can sort of get it back faster. Now her 2 gadgets are pretty interesting. The first one is kind of like a mix between like Piper's gadget, but it allows her next attack to knock enemies back 3 tiles, but it also can break walls. Now the other gadget is called Makeshift Ramp, which increases her attack range just by 1 tile, but it also allows it to go through walls, and it also works in the super upgraded version. Definitely a mix of a lot of different brawlers together. Next brawler is Lori, who's a huge bookworm that reads a ton of sci-fi books, but she reads so many she's no longer sure now what's real, and she thinks she's involved in a conspiracy with aliens. So she's kind of like a Karen. Too many Facebook posts, Lori. What are you doing? All right, now she got kind of medium, a little bit low health, not too low, and normal movement speed. Now her attack is interesting. It's a paper airplane that she throws. It's a long range, 9 tiles, but the interesting part is it starts out fast, and then it slows down the further she gets. So I really like that. Even though it's a long range, it can hit a lot of stuff. At the very end of it, it starts to get easier to dodge. Now her super is really unique as well. It's called Conspiracy, which allows her to throw out her conspiracy notes, I guess. Does a small amount of damage, but the catch is any enemies that are within that circle now share damage for the next 6 seconds, or at least 30% of that damage. So if you hit one of them with 1,000 damage, the other people connected will take 30% of that. Definitely a unique way to sort of share or bounce damage. Now her star powers, first one, Unravel. The paper airplane of her attack lingers in the air for a second and a half at the end of its range. Kind of like Griff's super, how it sort of lingers at the end for a moment. Now her other star power is called Personal Space. Lori deals 25% extra damage to enemies that don't have allies within 3.5 tiles of them. It's like a reverse AoE effect. That's really cool. I definitely think we need a brawler who does extra damage to enemies who are like alone or by themselves. Now her gadget is called Hard Evidence, and it buffs her next attack where if you hit that brawler, they take extra damage just by 16% and only for the next 4 seconds. So it's kind of like a redux of Belle's super. Now the poster even did voice lines for this brawler. For example, that dog just talked. I'm not crazy. The one time it's kind of true. Next up, we got Taylor, who's a heavyweight that's an aspiring fashion designer, sees potential in everyone and wants to make them fabulous. Cough M's when she was alive. Maybe, but she does it whether they want to be fabulous or not. Yeah, all right. She got a solid amount of health, but not crazy, and a fast move speed. Now her attack is obviously gonna involve scissors. She uses her scissors, slices in, but each blade does a certain amount of damage, so you have to get hit by both of them to get the full amount of damage. Now her super is basically a health buff. It's called Designer Clothes. It permanently increases her max health by 600, and then it gives her a temporary amount of HP. Just think of it as like a temporary shield of 1400 health that drains over the next 5 seconds. I do think the permanent health buff is kind of interesting. It's kind of like a Rosa super, but super redux. Now the difference comes out more with her star powers. Her first one is Patch Up, which whenever she uses her super, it heals her and any nearby allies for 1200 health. So solid area healing. Then her other star power, Exotic Design, basically makes her super better. It increases that shield health to 2000 instead of 1400 and makes the decay go slower. Instead of over 5 seconds, 8 seconds. Now her gadget's really interesting, called Cut Down. It makes her next attack permanently reduce the max health of any enemy that gets hit by your attack by 1,000, and also reduces all healing they receive by 60%, but only for the next 3 seconds. Now the enemy will get their normal max health again whenever they die, but until they die, they have a reduced max health, which sounds really cool. I'd love to have a mechanic like that. All right, next up is Nova, who is Colonel Ruff's pilot and his weapons specialist. Ooh, big rocket. All right, now she's got a really cool attack, but she's got pretty medium health and average or slightly below average reload. Now her attack is really cool. She does have 3 slots of ammo, but whenever she fires, she uses all of her ammo at once. And each ammo is 2 rockets. So if she has full ammo, she fires out 6 rockets at once. Whoa! So if you actually hit your attack, you could do a ton of damage. Or if you miss, all of a sudden, it's gonna take you a long time to be able to reload and dish out more damage. I think as long as it's not too easy to hit like all 6 rockets at once, like, you know, it could be staggered, maybe the attack takes a long time, then it should be a good, maybe balanced idea. Now her super is kind of like Brock's jumping gadget, but a little bit different. First off, it's got almost a 1-second delay. After you activate it, it causes an explosion around her, dealing 1200 damage, solid amount, knocking enemies back, and if she hits an enemy, she gets a shield for the next 3 seconds, reducing 20% of incoming damage. So it's honestly like a big anti-tank, anti-assassin super. Now her 2 star powers, the first one increases that shield of her super by 10%. So if you need a more defensive kit, you go with that. But if you want the offense, you go with Megatomic Rockets, which allows those rockets, whether they hit an enemy or a wall, to now deal explosion damage as well. So basically that way, if you miss, you have a little insurance to, you hit that wall nearby, you can still deal some damage to them, or you can now hit multiple enemies at once. Now her gadget is Meteor Shower, which to be honest, sounds almost exactly like Ruff's second gadget, but keep in mind, this came out way before Ruff's gadget did, so I mean, like, hey, it is an appropriate idea for this brawler. I think it's fair. Next brawler is Dell, who's an assassin. He's basically like a portable telephone box, but since like everyone has cell phones these days, no one's been using him, so now he's fighting. Yeah, typical Brawl Stars lore, Or no, he has a solid amount of health and a pretty solid reload speed too. Now his attack puts the phone on speaker mode and blasts out sound waves in an arcing cone. So the closer you are to the target, the more likely you are to get hit by more of those attacks. All right, that kind of makes sense. Sound hurts more the closer you are, so sure. Now his super sounds kind of interesting. I'm not sure about it though. It's called Telephone Call. He throws out the phone. It doesn't deal damage. It goes through brawlers, but not walls. But the catch is he can use his super button again, which allows him to teleport to wherever the phone is. It definitely sounds cool to have a brawler with a teleportation as like part of their whole kit. But on top of that, if there are nearby brawlers wherever that telephone is, it does a small amount of damage to them. But really it seems like the main point of it is just to teleport around the map. Cool. Now his 2-star powers, the first one sort of just extends the range of his super so he can teleport to a further distance if he wants. And then the other one, Emergency Hotline, heals him whenever he teleports for 1,500 health. Pretty solid amount. Definitely makes sense. If you're using it to go in and attack, you can heal up once you're there, or even to escape to make sure you stay alive. Now his gadget is appropriately called Prank Call, which that telephone he throws out with his super, it allows him to now explode it if you use that gadget, dealing damage to nearby enemies and slowing them down for a couple seconds, which honestly adds to his kit a lot. That way you don't know if he's going to teleport to you or explode it and slow you down. Well, let me know which idea was your favorite down below. And hey, if you enjoyed this, check out more great brawler ideas right over there. I'm sure you'll also enjoy it. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you later. Peace.